told her I'd probably see you.
I sent her a text and she wrote me back, but so I figured she wasn't gonna be again for a couple of
She's
weeks.
coming in next week.
Okay.
She'll be here on the 7th.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna be out of town.
I mean, Mario, when are you coming back?
Not till
So we're here until the 15th.
Call to order City of Port Richey City Council meeting Tuesday, March 26, 2024. I'd like to invite several in the fields to do our invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we just come to you in the precious name of Jesus. We thank you for this meeting, that we could continue to ask for wisdom and that you give us wisdom through the council and the board members in each department here for the development of everything that we do. So we always ask for wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge. Listen to each other as a team in the community, what we need to do. So we just thank you for that. And so with zoning and redevelopment, we're asking for guidance on that, and you've been working on that so we could come to good conclusions of stuff that needs to be done in the city and with the residents and development. And we also thank you for the board members that are going to be appointed. Lord, as everything there is being vetted and done and decent in order the same well. And we thank you for the Pledge of Allegiance, what we're getting ready to say. This is where we get to talk about you and a pledge of allegiance to the flag. In God we trust. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and
to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Liberty and justice for all. That messed me up.
Madam Clerk, take roll, please.
Mayor John Eric Hoover,
Here.
Vice Mayor Linda Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilman Tom Kinsella,
Here.
Councilman David Mueller,
Here.
Councilwoman Cherokee Sampson,
Here.
City Attorney Nancy Meyer,
Here.
City Manager Matthew Kopler.
Thank you. And Ms. Meyer, can you just clarify, since we have a virtual attendee, that they're able to participate and vote?
Yes, because you have a quorum physically present, Councilwoman Sampson is free to participate and vote in any matters that come before us today.
Thank you. First up, I have comments from the general public. I have two signed up. We'll start with Pat Rogers. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pat Rogers, 4838 Sunset Boulevard. First, I want to say that Somebody Cares Pasco is sponsoring an Easter egg hunt on Saturday at Waterfront Park from 10 to 12. There are things that will be for all age children, from toddlers all the way through teens, as far as different events for them to take part in, games and things, and stories. Also, there will be live music. Now, Wednesday night this week is the last Wednesday night of the 40 days of prayer, because Sunday is Easter Sunday. And if anybody can come, please do. It's 6 o'clock at the Oasis Coffee Spot at Embassy Boulevard and Little Road, and it's in the north corner of the building. Thirdly, I'm going to bring this up. You'll probably bring it up later, but the ad hoc committee for the 100th-year anniversary, I'm just wondering if, as a member of the Board of Adjustments, if I could be on that committee. Only because I used to be the chair of the historical committee that we had years ago.
Yeah, it's on the agenda, obviously, so we'll talk about.
Yeah, but that's just
Sure, that answered.
a legal question to get.
Sure. Yep.
Ms. Rogers, what was the time frame for the egg hunt? The time frame?
10 to 12.
10 to 12, okay. Thank you.
Okay, you got one of these?
Okay, next up I have Danny Fields. Welcome.
Okay, Leo Kid Road, 8114, Danny Fields. Again, I just want to thank you for your service and stuff. And, you know, we invite you guys to this stuff, and we know that sometimes people can't make it for whatever reasons, but it is a chance to reach out in the community, to build relationships, and for people to talk that might not come in here or listen online. And so that's why we, the church, put on these events for the public and for the government, because, you know, not to stand here and preach at you, but, you know, I seek God in his government, and his government helps me live my life, and it helps me to partner with you and like-minded people to be able to help people for the best for all people. And so, again, that's why I thank you for that. And in our prayer book, we pray about the 7 mountains of influence, and that is really government in the federal, state, and local. So I will read a little quote out of that. It says, "He has filled us with the Spirit of God in wisdom and love and in truth, so that we can make good counsel in every department." Like the police, they have to make counsels, they're trained, the fire department, you know, and I talk about red, white, and blue a lot in ministry. See, red represents the blood of Jesus, and, you know, and our flag even talks about the stripes of Jesus there, because that's the symbol of that. White stands for purity, which is truth, and then the stars, he even calls us to be shining bright stars. So when we make good decisions for everybody, work together as a team, we are that bright morning star. You know, we talk about heroes. You know, when the police go out and stand for justice and defend, and the fire department pulling them out of the fire. Well, the church, same thing. We don't want nobody to burn in any kind of fire. So I'm not here to judge and condemn. I'm here to encourage and to remind us of the opportunities, and each one of us have a responsibility to work together as a team. And look at the 100 years of Port Richey, right? We're going to be reviewing that. On that, we've seen in times those who's been here and on these boards, good decisions made and bad decisions made. And sometimes we don't have a choice because we vote. So we're coming together for the best of all. We know in the past we've had things not go right, and then justice has been served. But here today, I see a panel of people willing to make it better for theirself, for your families, for the jobs and communities around here, and for the people. So, you know, we can't please everybody, but we could continue to do what is just and right and noble and honorable. So I want to thank you for that, and I'm going to encourage you in that, because I want to live up to that, and I'm going to encourage you guys to do it. I'm not saying you're not, but that's what I'm here for. Blessings in Jesus' name. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. That's all I have signed up. Anybody show of hands like to speak? Seeing none, I bring it back. First up is our comments from our city manager. I'll pass to Mr. Copper for his comments.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. I've put my written comments on the desk for everyone to read. I'll just kind of go through this briefly. On 3/22, 2000, that should be 24, not 2004. A few years off there, sorry. I, along with Mayor Hoover, attended the Pasco County Interdepartmental and Municipalities Recovery Listening Session. Say that 2 times fast. This event was sponsored by the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council and the Pasco County Office of Strategy and Sustainability. The goal was to gather insights about the damage caused by flooding and extreme weather in our area, as well as the physical and economic recovery processes and known vulnerabilities within the county and its municipalities. And I list there some of the different federal agencies that were there, and there were some state agencies as well. But besides, I think learning about what the different programs out there that can help in the recovery process and after, more importantly, I think was some of the contacts we made with these departments, and meeting them, giving a face to a name and to the city, I think is very important. And a couple of different things came out of it, and my next item will be one of those that came out of it. But for instance, in attendance there was a individual from the SBA. And after the meeting, we didn't actually talk to her during the meeting, but after the meeting, she came here to City Hall and said, yeah, I wanted to talk to you. I saw what had happened to the city and wanted to let you know there's probably more things that the SBA can do for your businesses than you're aware of. And we were able to put her in contact with the chamber because she was unaware that we had a chamber. And I think there was some information passed on there that can help the businesses, because it just isn't, you know, a loan that they can get for their operations. There's also a lot of recovery related things that they can use to actually improve their businesses and hopefully make their business even stronger after the fact. The other item that came up was because the emergency management department of the county was there, we had talked about some of the things that we as a city need related to emergency management ourselves. That we're working to improve our operations here. And we were able to get a commitment from them to have some of their staff come to the city and work with us, you know, in terms of putting our EOC together, as well as looking at our emergency management plan and improving that. So I think those type of events, there's, you know, what the information you walk away with, but there's also the connection with people that, you know, hopefully will spin off into good things down the road. One of those connections, as they may have foreshadowed, was with the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. It's something that, if you remember a few meetings ago, Council had authorized us to participate as a collaborator with the Planning Council on a resiliency project grant that they are applying for. At that time, I was interested possibly in looking to see if the city could get to be a member. I wasn't sure what that process was. Well, we happened to meet the executive director there on Friday, and on Tuesday or Monday morning, she had forwarded an email to us offering or asking us to join, and gave us the steps to do that. And so, effectively, it's council has to pass a resolution saying you want to join, and we have to pay them $2,000 a year. So we're putting together that information. I'll have it on the next agenda for your review, and we can talk about it more, but I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's coming down the pipe. On April 15th, the city will be conducting smoke testing on the city's northwest side. The testing will begin Harbor Point Drive and continue to work outwards towards US 19. It is anticipated that not all the testing will be completed on this date, so another date will be selected in the future to complete this important test. This is a continuation of the city's efforts to ensure that stormwater is kept out of the city's sanitary sewer system, which saves residents money on sewer treatment costs, reduces the risk of environmental damage due to broken pipes, and ensures proper functioning of the sewer system. As we get close to the date of the testing, more information will be posted on our website and the city's social media pages. Next item, the bids for the Cody River Landing project are due to be open tomorrow, Wednesday, March 27th, 3:30. Depending upon the time necessary for the review of the bids, we should have the project on the agenda for both the City Council and CRA no later than April 23rd. And so, because of the funding of this project, part of it's coming from utility funds, city controlled. The other part's coming from the CRA, which CRA board. We're going to have to kind of bifurcate the approval process. Council will do one, and CRA will do the next one. So we're very hopeful that we'll get good bids. Fingers crossed. And the last item I had written here, I'll try to summarize this. I'm sure you're all aware there was a posting on a Facebook site regarding water quality in the Channel Drive, Island Drive area. I want to first and foremost say that the water the city delivers to each resident is safe to drink. We don't have a water safety issue. We follow all the required treatment and distribution protocols required by the state and the U.S. EPA. We test. We know the quality of the water related to its drinkability. We don't have any issue. So what the resident was pointing out, though, was, in particular for people that aren't aware of this, is that a filter that they had on their water system was full of sediment, particulates, things like that. We did have our director of utilities and DPW go out, actually met with not the individual who posted it, but his spouse, and talked, explained what was going on from our perspective. What we believe is going on is that line dead ends very close to that residence. There isn't a way for it to either dilute or to flow it out. So at the end of the lines, as I'm sure you're aware, they tend to collect a lot of the sediment that gets into the system from what's inside the pipes. So the solution there, we believe, is that we either have to put a blowout there or we have to figure out how to loop the system so we get better flow through that. So we're going to be evaluating both of those here in the very near future. And if it looks like it's going to be a long time to be able to loop the system, then we'll just install the blowout and make sure that it's done on a regular basis, which should help clear up some of that sedimentation issue. Again, we have an old system that is going to require a lot of work. I'm probably a broken record with you on this. It's one of our most critical needs for the city is to look at our infrastructure and start replacing it. Unfortunately, you just don't do that overnight. It takes a plan, and that's what we're working on. The next thing you're going to be seeing from us as we get into the CIP process and the budget process is that we need to put together a plan that then shows us how to spend the money that we need to spend to do it the right way. So just to kind of give you, I had the director kind of do a little exercise on just, current replacement cost. Although I didn't add all this up, it's in excess of $20 million just to replace what we have in the ground right now. And that's not even addressing that, maybe we need to upsize some of our lines and do things like that. So, we're well into the $20s to $30 million range to do what's necessary. Obviously, that's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to take a long time to get this done. Again, it's a process we are starting. It's a process you're going to be a part of because we're going to have to figure out, how to spend the money that we need to do the things to make this situation not as prevalent as what it is within the city. I don't know if you have any questions on that before I move on to the last time, which isn't written, but
I had. Is that $20 million number just the water lines, or does that include drains and sewer, sanitary sewer?
No, that's just water. That's okay. Water lines, valves, fire hydrants, and the such. Yeah, that's not even looking. I didn't, because we weren't talking about sanitary sewer, the storm system today. Yeah. It's in the, and this also doesn't even address our water treatment facility. That's a whole nother issue that our director staff is looking at as well. That's another big number coming down the line. So with that, the last thing I didn't have at the time when I put this memo together, but I wanted to give you a heads up on the paving. We got some direction from the paving company that they are looking late May to actually start that project. I believe they're proposing to do a pre-construction meeting sometime the week of April 8th. At that point in time, we'll probably have a more specific date and time. I think especially because we're doing that first part of Bay Boulevard as well as Ritchie Drive. We want to make sure we have people notified well in advance before we start tearing up the road. So it's important that we get that information as soon as we can, get it out to the businesses as well as the residents that make use of those roads on a daily basis. And with that, that's all I had.
Thanks, Matt. Move on to the council. Let's start with Councilman Mueller.
Yes. I noticed that we have a water monitoring, Pasco County Coastal Beaches monitoring results. And I noticed that we are they're monitoring at Brasher Park. I called the individual, found him on the internet, called him and passed on this information to the city manager. But after discussion with this individual, his name's also David, it became apparent that Brasher probably is not the best place to sample our water. And I suggested we have another beach over here in Olsner and he was able to look at it on the map, and since they're grant funded as well, they couldn't add one, but they could certainly move it to that. And I emphasize that there's probably more people that water comes in contact with in the bayou that would be a better representative to our community and understand that what's in that water. Okay, just not at Brasher. There's probably not as much use as there would be in the bayou and people boating and stuff in there. But the potential is if they could get that switched, we would have the ability to monitor what our water quality is in the bayou, and that may lead to something in the future. And I think it would behoove us to understand that. And I believe Matt's following up on that.
Yeah, and if I could, there's always a backstory to everything, as we talked about. And apparently, sometime in the past, this was part of a grant program with the University of Florida, if I'm not mistaken, South. Correct me when I'm wrong. Oh, South Florida, sorry. And it was, at that point, it was done for free. More recently, I guess the grant funding had dried up, and we are actually being charged, I think the bill was $520 for that testing. We did reach out to our contact related to the testing, and they indicated that they would be open to doing testing at both sites if we wanted. Obviously, there's a cost to do that. I guess originally why they selected Brasher Park for that was something to do with monitoring the red tide and other type of impacts on the shoreline related to the Gulf. So we might not, if we moved it from Brasher, we might not be able to follow up on that type of analysis. But I do agree that there would be value in doing testing in the bayou and at Olsner as well. So I mean, I think we're supposed to be getting some more information from them on terms of what that cost is, and as soon as we get that, we can maybe have that conversation again. Once we know what the cost is.
This is a different test or the same test that they're supplying here, because I believe this is a different test. I think they're two different organizations, but we haven't defined it. Figured that out.
No, Ken McGuire also works for the Florida Health Department, so he's the same. He knows the gentleman that you were speaking to, so and they work together. So this is the same testing. And
It is the same testing. The guy indicated that they walk into the water 3 feet and sample.
Yeah, they pull samples. They used to have a monitoring station there that did it for them, but since the funding for that dried up, they've been having to do it that way. So they said that they can monitor both parks, switch the parks, whatever direction we want to take. I think they charge us now. It's a minimal of like $500 throughout the year to do the testing, and the testing is quarterly. So, we could add the other park if we'd like. He did say to me that Brasher is more or less used for kayaking, launches like that, as opposed to Olsner being more, for swimming related. So it's up to the discretion of what direction we want to take, but it's not an issue for them.
My thought was if there is a high or warning scenario, it would probably behoove us to understand that. And one, we're also accumulating that history. And if we go to do anything with water quality in our bayou, that would certainly lend to our any report or any grant maybe we might be looking at.
Yeah, they're always looking for it. And they said that in the new cycle that they might get grant funding to continue their monitoring again. Brasher, Olsner was being tested many, many years ago when I first started for the city. They used to issue warnings to us in case there was certain contents that were high, like red tide, and we would put signs out accordingly. But then, of course, over the years, they only picked so many sites that they could go out to, and Brasher ended up remaining the one of them. But once again, they're not opposed to switching sites. It's not a big deal for them. It's within the same area. It's half a mile. So.
And let's see what else I got on my list. other than the normal potholes and sidewalk repairs, I encountered a lot of those in my walk through the city, and I could put that together. But that's probably a bigger project than one or two. And I appreciate you following up on the water filtering issue. That was a main concern that I've seen also. Thank you.
Thanks, David. I'll pass over Vice Mayor Rodriguez. Let you go next.
I do have a question about the water, Mr. Copler. There were two solutions. One is the loop, which you said will probably take longer, and one is the flush out.
Yep.
What would be the time frame for you, or do you not know? With
I don't have a good time frame on that, but the blowout is something that we can do in house, so it'll be a lot quicker. And again, I think that's probably where we're going to go anyways, because I think the loop is a little bit more of a engineering / larger construction issue.
the outcomes for both would be the same. That it's, I mean, one is one better than the other, or
Well, I think looping is better not only from the standpoint of the water issues that residents see, but also from a pressure standpoint. If there is a main break in one area, you're still feeding that, so it's a better solution and something that as a best practice you want to see in your system. Our problem is when you look at the map and you see all the streets out there, we have a lot of dead ends. There's no way really to loop some of these, so your system doesn't have the loops that we like to see. This one, because there is an adjacent street that has a water line, it's possible. I mean, I would prefer the loop, but again, that's costly. Probably going to take a little bit more time. So blowout is probably the best solution.
could we do both? Could we do the blowout to? That video was terrible. So is that something that we could do? Because that's just
I think putting
nice.
the blowout does not preclude us from doing the greater project. Again, if we can do away with the blowout, that's even better. So we'll look at that and see, what can be done. And I should have mentioned there was another resident I think that was included maybe somewhere in that chain at another address. I know our director had attempted today a couple times to reach out to that person. Was unsuccessful, so they'll be trying again tomorrow to kind of get an understanding of what issues that resident has seen as well. Again, feel free if you go onto the website, you can see my contact information, the director's contact information, Sal's contact information. It's sometimes better to reach out to us directly rather than to post it on Facebook. It just so happened that I think you sent it to me like 2 minutes before the mayor showed me. When this happened, so we were fortunate there. But again, we encourage residents to reach out to us and let us know so we can check in, because not every situation is the same. And one of the concerns we had was with that is possibly it was the residents' line was galvanized, and we can take care of that. So we need to be able to check on it.
I know we do water testing at the water treatment plant itself. Do we ever do water testing towards the end of the lines?
Yeah, our water testing, and I don't remember how many particular sites we have to go out to, but we have to go out into the system and do draws of water and have those tested as well.
Okay.
So it's not just at the water plant. We do,
right,
but we also have to make sure that our system doesn't have issues in it as well. And it's one of the things that we talked earlier this year, I guess, was about lead and copper. And again, one of the tests we do is in the system, measure to see if we have higher than normal lead or copper issues within the system. So it's something that we do at least on a quarterly basis, if I'm not mistaken. So we're out there testing all the time.
Okay, thank you. No, that's all I have.
Councilman Cattell?
Continuing with that water issue, I like the idea of the blowout, and which sounds logical. How many other areas do we have where our lines end like that would benefit a blowout? Is this something that?
Yeah. I'm not sure of that number. I know we already have in a number of locations blowouts already. So I don't know, and I'll have to find that number out for you. I'm not sure how many we don't have.
Now, is this something that the city can act on immediately to move forward so we don't? It seems like these complaints come in occasionally. I mean, it's not a continuous basis, but apparently something happens. But after some of these water main breaks that we have, having these blowouts to kind of get that out to prevent these complaints coming in to help. But is there something this council needs to do, or can your department move forward? Let's
it's
be
probably
proactive.
Unbeknownst to me, it's probably already scheduled.
Okay,
so.
great.
I mean, I think again, the public works utility operation, they're on top of these things. I mean, again, very soon after we passed this information on to them, they were already out there testing some of the different locations to try to see if there was any issues we're not aware of. And so I think they're very proactive when it comes to this. And as I said this morning, I think at our staff meeting, they were already talking about, one, I brought up, it'd be great to be able to loop it if we could. But I just think that's maybe $2,000 of a plan to do right now. So it's most likely a blowout will be put in there.
So going forward, can we add this as old business so we could get an update on this? I know that our citizens or the residents would like to know what's going on, especially in the various areas. Be a little more specific as to what areas are tested, where the blowouts are being done. So this way, the residents have a better understanding that we are doing something going forward. So that'd be great. On the just a quick question on the bid for the Cody River Landing. How many did we get, just out of curiosity?
Well, they're not due until tomorrow at 3
Okay.
o'clock. I don't believe we received any yet. They usually that's you never get them the day before. It's usually right up to the 3 o'clock time frame when they're coming in.
And this other, what Mr. Mueller brought forward about the water testing, I like the idea having at both. If it requires us to pay that extra, let's be it, because we're talking about two separate locations. I understand Brasher with the red tide, but we're Miller Bayou, that's almost like stagnant water there. And but if we're going to move forward with something like this, and we start seeing we need to start making warnings, we need to be prepared to whatever we need to do, signage, posting. I mean, I don't know if the city has done that before, or if that's part of the plan when we do get these notifications. Do we actually put signage up at those areas, public areas, to let the citizens know, hey, this is tainted water here?
They have done in the past, and if we get a negative report, we would make some postings about it. So I'd have to go back and see when the last time we had any time that was low enough to post something, but they've never reported to me that it was like a crucial report that we had to react. So, but now if we switch to Olsner and they do have something like that, then like I said, many years ago, we used to put a sign out front that said like red tide or not fit for swimming, things like that. And we do have those signs still in place. So if we need to erect them, we could.
So going forward with this, I mean, this is something that the council needs to act upon in order to have the two, since we'll be paying for both. But at the same time, you're saying that if they apply for the grant, it'd be nice if we do have the two already there. When they do apply for the grant, we'll include the two locations, maybe.
Yeah, I think fundamentally council doesn't have to act on it. I think once we get the information on what the pricing, if there's any different pricing for two versus one, we'll come back and tell you this is what the pricing is, and we're going to proceed. Because again, I agree. I think we do want to know for that area, because it is a public beach. What the condition is. So.
Perfect. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks. I'll go out to Councilwoman Sampson. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Right. You can go with your comments.
Yes. So I would like to talk a little bit more about what Mr. Koppler had mentioned from his comments. about our EOP, which is an emergency operations plan. I've had multiple meetings with different department heads as well as Mr. Cobbler. And one of the things that, I inquired about was an EOP for citizens as well as for city council. So an EOP, it describes different actions, right, for us to look at. They're to be taken in response to natural, man-made, national security hazards, right? Having an EOP in place helps to ensure that all staff members are aware of their roles and responsibilities in the event of an emergency. And I just want to note, like, even an emergency such as a plane falling out of the sky, right? That happened in Clearwater recently. I don't know if people saw that. But I personally think that we need to make sure that this is one of the top things that we work on, because we live in a hurricane zone. There's a threat of tornadoes, and having an EOP in place can help save lives. And then also designating an emergency operations center or an EOC, and that would be the hub for all the coordination during an incident, right? Facilitating and directing things like recovery, cleanup. A physical EOC also allows staff members to interact directly. Looking another person in the face allows a host of different nonverbal cues, right, to come through, giving you a clearer understanding of what they're telling you. So it's easier to know where everyone and everything is with the physical EOC. The EOC also houses the emergency operations team, city's disaster response team, alert and response team, and they all work together and help to collect, analyze, prioritize, monitor, and disseminate information about different crises or disasters. Right? It serves as a central coordination point for resources and information. So I think that we as a city council need to make that a priority, especially with hurricane season being here. And I think it would also be of interest perhaps for us to establish a CIC, which is a Citizens Information Center. That would be of benefit to citizens and would become available during major emergencies. Now, Mr. Cobbler and I spoke about this at length, and we also discussed a POTS line. Now, I don't know if people are aware of what a POTS line is. That's a plain old telephone service line, and we don't have one in the city of Port Richey. They are, so just a little background on that. So due to a POTS line's reliability and the ability to function during power outages, POTS lines are still used as backup lines for emergency services in many places. So for instance, our own police department uses a POTS line, oh dear Lord, a POTS line to transport the breathalyzer. They transport the breathalyzer machine to another city. They update that with the POTS line, and then they bring it back to the city of Port Richey. Now, if we had a POTS line in place, it even works without a hitch during the power outage. And unlike, digital communication methods, it doesn't rely on an active internet connection. So I think that we need to look into that. I've made a few calls to different provider services around the area. I'm still waiting on a few callbacks to discuss the cost of that. But I think we need to look into those, and that should be an EOP, EOC, and a CIC, as well as a POTS line should be our one of our top priorities, especially because the citizens of Port Richey look to us in an emergency, right? And we need to be able to, do what we can to help them in said emergency. And I know, Mr. Cobbler, you had said that, you were working with different county and state officials on developing an EOC for the city.
Correct.
He said yes.
Can you hear?
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. And so, I just think that should be something that, we discuss and start to get planning as city council, and help Mr. Cobbler and, the rest of our city employees to be able to help, better be prepared during an emergency situation. I really was a little bit shocked when I found out that we didn't have one. But yeah, that as far as the water situation, I just wanted to also say that Mr. Rose from Public Works, he did an awesome job and was super proactive, like everyone has mentioned. I think that I wanted to ask if we have looked into reverse osmosis for our treatment.
That is something that that's when I mentioned water plant improvements, upgrades. That's probably what we're talking about. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. All right, that's all that I have.
Yep. Thanks, Jerry. I had a couple things, but actually you mentioned the answer on the pig start when it's late May. So that's good. The other thing I had, a resident reached out about the bathrooms at Nix Park. I personally not had a chance to go check them out, but I guess they're pretty bad shape on the inside, no doors or anything. I don't know if anybody else experienced, so if we get somebody out there to take a look at those bathrooms at Nix Park. Obviously, those probably get used quite a bit by boaters and whatnot, so we probably need that to look pretty good. That's all I had. So moving on, comments from boards, committees. Do we have any comments from boards, committees?
No, I don't have, no, we haven't had a meeting.
Okay.
Next meeting.
Okay. Moving right along to our consent agenda for a motion and a discussion.
Consent agenda.
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion? Anyone from public like to speak? No hands. Let's put it to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item number 2, public hearing, second reading of ordinance number 24-696, amending section 127-58 of Article 3 of Chapter 127 of the City of Port Richey Code of Ordinances to allow for recreational vehicle parks in a planned unit development zoning district. I'll pass it to Ms. Myers for the reading.
Thank you. Ordinance number 24-696, an ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, amending section 127-58 of Article 3, Chapter 127 of the City of Port Richey's Code of Ordinances to update code section cited therein to allow for recreational vehicle parks in a planned unit development zoning district, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date.
Thanks. And open up for motion or discussion.
Just want you to know that I did meet as for our last discussion. During our last discussion, I was questioning meeting with the planning consultant, which I did. I met with Tammy. And just as information, an RV park for our current code, for our current plan is not allowed anywhere in the city. I know the plan is being redone, so just so that I did verify and that it is not allowed at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like I said, passing this does not, it provides to have an RV park in the city, but you have to have the other piece as well in order to actually effectuate that.
One other thing I noticed in this, on page 7, it's still showing 16. I don't know if that's not part of the ordinance. It's just a lead into it, so that did get updated. But
Oh, comments. Description.
We're at 15 per acre.
Yeah.
Which was that again?
It's in the intro.
See on page
On
7.
page 7, halfway down the page 7 of the notes. Here.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think it matters, but 15 to 16, whatever.
In the actual PUD, it states 15, which is probably be
As long as it's
identified.
in the ordinance, you're okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
Motion to approve this. Second reading of ordinance number 24696.
Have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Motion seconded.
Have a motion second. Further discussion? I do have one signed up. Yeah. Mildred, welcome.
I'm sorry. My name is Mildred Wimpy. I live at 5113 Mallet Drive, Port Richey, 34668.
Sorry, please speak up.
Get a little closer to the mic.
Thank you, thank you.
I've never done this before, so I'm kind of a little nervous.
I understand, yes ma'am, I
I
understand.
used to own 8301 Congress. My husband and I, Archie, he used to own it, and we owned it for like 30 years until he started having health problems with cancer, and he fought cancer for 10 years, 3 different types. And he always wanted to turn it into an RV park and make a revenue to help, you know, as far as paying taxes and everything, and giving the community and people that come down from the north a place to park their RVs. And he always thought it would be beneficial to everybody. And lastly, I wanted to say thank you to Sal and the utility department for helping me out when Spectrum shot their underground wiring in my sewer, which I fought for a year and a half. Thank goodness I didn't have to pay for it because it was Spectrum's problem. But other than that, I just wanted to say that I thought it was a good idea. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the time I had. Anybody else like to speak? Show of hands.
Chris Mayer, 5342 Blue Point Drive. I don't know a lot about this, but I do know that we've got an entrepreneur back here who is wanting to improve his property and create income for the city, create an opportunity for people to come here and drop their money on us. You know, anything that develops our infrastructure at this point that is a positive for the city, I think is a good idea. So I think we should seriously consider this. You guys are going to make the decision here in a few minutes on that. But what they're bringing to the table and what I believe it's going to benefit the city, I think it's a good idea.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else? Seeing no hands, I'll bring it back to vote. I'll do a roll call vote since we got somebody else. Oh, welcome, Ron. I didn't see your hand. Sorry.
Hi, Ron McDonald, 7610 Deidre Circle. I've been a real estate broker for 40 years, and I was a consultant for the FDOT on eminent domain valuations for an independent basis. Luckily, I had the opportunity to go with Mr. Todd and walk that property and see how he's cleaned it up from the point when we had a lot of homeless people out there and it was used for dumping trash and all kinds of things. Basically, it's an unsightly piece of land, but he's cleaned it very well. The fact that we can take a property that right now has a valuation of $500,000 and turn it into an ad valorem tax base of maybe as much as $6 million, as well as increasing the income for the entire area from all the visitors that come in, it seems like it might be a really nice addition to our city. The plans that I've reviewed with the prospective buyers don't look anything like the RV parks you see up and down US 19. This is set up where they're planning tree houses, floating cottages, and a nice way to use nature itself to enhance the experience of using the RVs. I really think it might benefit the city if you did approve it, because it might bring us a little more recognition as a place where recreation is welcomed. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just for the record, I don't have a problem with the campground. Never had a problem with that, the location, so forth. But by this ordinance that we're putting through applies for the entire city. Granted, there's some hurdles in order to move forward with it, but there's still that opportunity. It can be done depending on who's sitting on at the council. So I disagree that making this the entire city, that potentially it could go other areas. Again, I understand the hurdles to get there, but still it opens up a door. And that's what I pose. If there was a way that we could just narrow it to the property in question and just keep it at that location, whatever changes we're able to make that work, I don't have a problem with that. But changing this, it just opens the door, that potentially could happen anyplace else within the city. So that's my concern.
I did have at least conversation with the planning consultant in getting that one thing saying that we're not allowed. She was very clear in that we can, in our next plan, make a provision that we can limit it to anywhere we want. This property, we can make it that property, any property we want. So that can be done in the next plan. And not my concern, I want to do things in order. We're a government, and you have to do step 1, 2, 3, and we come into criticism when you skip step 2 and go to step 4 because we didn't do things in the right way. What's setting precedents for other ordinances, for other things, if you don't follow this proper protocol? This is the protocol. Our current land policy says we don't have any RVs anywhere. I have said numerous times up here, I like this idea. I am not against this RV park at all. I think it's a great idea. My only concern is that we are the government, and we have to play by the rules. And that's what it says. I would absolutely support the future land use plan and having the RV park. Absolutely, as long as it's in the correct spot, whether it be this piece of land or a second piece of land or a different piece of land, but I would absolutely support that. But she was very clear in that we can make that happen. Do we know when excuse me, sir, do we know, I called you sir and everything.
Thank you.
Finally, you get some respect.
I think you might be in trouble.
First time today. I appreciate it.
Do we know when the plan would be started, completed? I did not ask her that question in the meeting, and I should have, but I did not.
So I think actually she may have said, threw out a time frame. From our perspective, we would be working on it probably at the next meeting, get direction from council to do that. I think one of the things that it was requested, which I thought was a really good idea from Councilperson Mueller, to get kind of a flow chart that kind of lays out, here's what the process is, so you can see the steps and the time frames with it. She felt it would probably take 3 to 6 months to get everything done when all is said and done. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, yes, that did, because I don't recall asking her that question. I would prefer to put this on the table, and I know that doesn't make some people very happy, and I understand that, and I sympathize with that. I just feel like, as a government, we need to do things in order. We ask our residents to do things in order and follow the rules, and I think we should too. So definitely don't want to get rid of this. I think it's great the way it is. I just feel like we need to have our plan support what we're doing. So thank you.
And we spent a lot of time
Absolutely.
on this. In matter of fact, on this PUD itself that we're looking to approve tonight, that meeting, that workshop alone, where we went through item by item on that PUD, was about 3 hours, if I remember correctly. So I really feel we've done some due diligence here on what that should look like. I don't see that we're doing anything out of order. I don't see that argument. And I think, if you correct if I'm wrong, Matt, but I think it's probably better to do it this way first, so we have something that we can apply to actually make the change, as opposed to the vice versa. So if you could elaborate on the order of this.
I think in kind of laying out why we can go forward, I did say that this, the information that we're putting together within the PUD will help inform what the comp plan's ultimately going to do. I think, I don't disagree with what the Councilwoman is saying. The right way to do this, and I think had I understood that in the beginning, that's totally different how we would have approached this. She's right. That is the right order. I'm merely stating that in defense of where we're at, that we can go forward, because ultimately that's the piece that locks in the ability for it to happen. And so you can do this. It doesn't stop it. And our planning consultant, Tammy, has said that. The night that I kind of stopped it, she had indicated, well, you can go ahead and approve it. It's not, that's not a problem. But it's correct. This isn't necessarily the best order of how to do it. But we are where we are. And again, I know that we would be taking a step back if we, went back and started from, step A.
I mean, at the end of the day, we have to have this anyway, and
Right, and that's why I said, I think this is great. We did spend a lot of time on this, and I agree with it. We ask our residents to follow rules and orders, and we're not doing that. So that's all.
Well, at the end of the day, this particular definition of what an RV park is funnels right back into the comprehensive plan that they're trying to define.
Right.
So without this, they don't have the data to get into that plan. Once this gets done, I believe, this defines and lays out what an RV park is, the guidelines of operation, what they have to have, space, all that information is what we worked on a lot. Okay.
Right.
And I believe that moving forward with this allows the next step to occur, the comprehensive plan. It gets into that, and then the comprehensive plan gets addressed. We do have now a code that addresses RVs, and then somebody still has to come forward and request.
Well, we know that's right there. Right. So that's that. So can I ask a question? Mm-hmm. Putting this, if we pass this tonight, can I go and open an RV park someplace within the next? Can I apply for a permit and start building within the next without a comprehensive plan?
Your first step would be to ask the comprehensive plan to be amended. Yeah. So your request would start the process that the city's already going to be starting.
Okay. That's what I.
So yes, I really think y'all's fear is somewhat unfounded, because this is in a sense dead code tonight. It's never going to be used unless the other piece takes place. So as far as order of operations,
that's what I was asking. That's what I just asked.
But I would say the normal process would be these would go together. You would work on them together. You would usually you pass the comprehensive plan ordinance first, and that same night, the next ordinance you deal with is the ordinance we have today. So they usually travel together, and that's why you have all the information you need if you build them together.
Right.
This, again, is just a little out of order because of it got started a little differently than we expected. So if this passes, the next step, whether it be city initiated or applicant initiated, would be to change the comprehensive plan to allow this to exist somewhere.
and I think the reason that it actually happened that way was because we originally thought that we would change the underlying zoning of Ag 1 to allow for the RV park, which is why we had that first and second reading there. And so we actually moved on to this part, but then we found out, well, we don't really need that. We need to do this comprehensive land use because of the future land use stuff. So it was kind of a evolutionary process. So, but we are here. And like I said, it's a crucial part of the process, and in and of itself does not really do anything.
No, I understand.
But we spent 8 meetings talking about this, as well as a workshop to go through that. Another thing I want to point out is, I just want to have everybody have a comfort level here. When you talk about the density, when you look at future land use, the future land use for that ag property now is a density of 1 per gross acre. And so that's part of the process. We need to look at changing that. Where now we know we need, based on our discussions with the PUD, we need 15. Do we change that to 3? Or I'm sorry, change that to 5 and say that 3 RV units equal 1 regular unit, and so I get your 15. So I think there's some things that are valuable of having this in place. So when we do the planning perspective of it, how it's going to fit in the city, we make the right adjustments there. So I think this is valuable information to be able to do that correctly.
I understand all that. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Robert? I did. Sure. I think I closed public comment. I'll back up for you.
Sherry Scher, 7802 Davis Street. I couldn't find any information on this, so I wanted to ask. One of the concerns, I think, was, RV parks popping up everywhere. Could you just pass having like one PUD RV within city limits, so we're limited to just one park per the city? Would that be something that is feasible or doable?
Yeah, and I'll answer that for you. I think the reality of it, not only this, but other businesses as well, I think we probably need to look at some point moratoriums on what we allow here. Do we want all these different storage areas? car washes. So I think it's much broader scope than that, but absolutely, I think we should look at some moratoriums on certain businesses.
I think, everybody seems to want the RV park, but do we want just one? We're a small city, let's just have one, and then maybe down the road see how things go. But I thought maybe if that could be put in place, that might alleviate some fears.
If I may, when I spoke to the planning consultant, that's what our plan will do. So when we do that plan, yes, we can put that in there that, yes, this RV park can go in that area, and that would be the only place. Or we can say there can be 10 RV parks, but that's what the plan does. And that's what we'll go by. That's what the city has to go by, is that plan. So yes, that we can put in there, there's one, we can put whatever we want in that plan.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else?
I'm good.
Okay. We're good? All right, I got motion second. I'm going to put it to vote. Let's take a roll call vote so we got a virtual person.
Mayor Hoover, what is your vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Rodriguez, what is your vote?
Aye.
Councilman Kinsella, what is your vote?
Nay.
Councilman Mueller, what is your vote?
Aye.
Councilwoman Sampson, what is your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. 4-1. Motion carries. Next up on council business is item number 3, approval of resolution number 24-07, creating ad hoc committee to plan the city's 100-year anniversary celebration. I'll pass it to Mr. Koppler for introduction.
Thank you. At a previous city council meeting, the council requested the city attorney to draft a resolution to create an ad hoc committee that would be responsible for the planning and implementation of the celebration honoring the 100th anniversary of Port Richey from the city. The proposed resolution would create a 9-member committee, make the city manager and mayor members of the committee, allow for the council to appoint the remaining 7 members from a list of nominees nominated by the council, and lays out the general structure of meetings in place for the meetings of the committee.
Resolution 24-07, resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey creating an ad hoc committee to plan the city's 100-year anniversary celebration and provide for an effective date.
For motion or discussion. I do have one question on this. I'm assuming that we pass this and then we would, at a later council meeting, possibly make recommendations to fill it or whatever?
Yes, obviously, you might want to let people know.
Yeah,
You know,
well, sure. Right. Yeah, and I know
before you volunteer them.
Yeah, and I know you had a question, Pat, about the if you could serve on it as being a board member. My understanding, based on our charter, that you can only serve on one board, but you can serve on various committees.
Unfortunately, it depends.
Is this different?
It depends. If I remember correctly, you're on Board of Adjustment. There is a provision in Board of Adjustment that says that the member shall hold no appointment with the city nor any other appointed position in the city.
Okay.
It's the only board that has that.
So that board's restrictive.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I asked.
Yeah. Well, a great question. I didn't realize that. Thank you.
Does that need to be updated?
Maybe. That's up to you guys.
That's a charter change, though, correct? That board's created by charter, I believe.
That provision is in your charter.
Yeah, so that would require.
Which we're reviewing
Charter
right
member.
now, so we add that to your review.
Yeah, if you maybe add that to the list.
I have another question. Section 4, you reference 5 members of the committee shall constitute a quorum. I know we're just getting started here. I know we ran into that situation with the CAC where we had vacancies and were unable to get a quorum. Is there a way to change that to the majority of the seated members?
Yes, you have it however you would wish it to read.
And
Yes.
that way, if there's vacancies, they're not counted in that process. And
Yeah, if we only have
still
5,
move
fill it.
forward. Right.
Yeah.
We only have 2 right now, so we don't have a quorum.
Right.
So, and I know with the CAC, it's kind of in the same thing. So that would probably be something you'd want to look at updating in that committee's quorum definition as well.
Any other comments? Motion?
Sorry. Just taking a nap. Motion to approve resolution number 24-07, creation of the ad hoc committee to plan our 100th anniversary celebration.
With the noted
change.
Motion seconded.
You're too late, Cherokee. Have motion second. Any further discussion? Anyone from the public like to speak? Seeing no hands, I'll bring it back to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is item number 4, appointment of members to boards, committees. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper for introduction.
For council consideration is appointment of Cherokee Sampson to the Historic Preservation Committee.
Motion discussion. And
I do know that Cherokee has done some work trying to obtain a lot of historic photos, and I believe she's captured a resource that is very instrumental in this effort. And I think it would be a benefit to have her and her resource pulled into this committee for historic preservation.
yeah, I agree. One of the questions I had about this committee, it shows on here it's inactive committee because that's not meeting. It's just Lori right now. So with Lori and potentially Cherokee on there, they would not even have a quorum, right? Because they need 3.
That's what I was looking to see. I'm not familiar with this.
Yeah, that's probably a
commission.
resolution. I think this is on.
It actually says it should be a 7-member board.
What 2 alternates?
That may
It just says
be
7-member board.
It's only got 5 spots on here.
Yeah. And it doesn't.
Doesn't mean you can't participate, Pat.
No event less than 4 members in attendance. It's written kind of strange, but you need 4 as a quorum per our charter. This is the code. Per the code, this is supposed to be a 7-member board, and your quorum is 4.
So this committee, my understanding has always been very lightly staffed. So I think Angel Nally used to be on it, and Lori Fine, so we had 2. So with the addition of Cherokee, which I'm fine with that for sure, we still need to either get some more members on there so they actually be functioning, or if we could possibly change the resolution to modify it. I think we probably need to change that committee to be a little less strict on members. What do you guys think about that? So they can actually
have seated members, right?
Yeah. So they can actually.
Can we have I'm not trying to be funny. Can we have a committee of 2 or 3?
You can have I don't think there's any rule that says you can't have a committee of 2 or 3. I think I would, if it's a committee of 2, I would be careful saying a quorum majority, or because then one person can come and just I'm sure there'd be no havoc being caused, but I think if you're gonna have if you're gonna decide you want 2 or 3, that at least needs to be 2 people. Because a meeting of one's just sad.
But at the end of the day, that still comes back to council for decisions, right?
I haven't even read. Honestly, I'm not familiar with them. I don't even know
Which
what
is
they're.
typically how the rest of them work.
Okay, so let's shoot you with questions and you can come back next time with answers. How's that?
Yep.
Can the historic committee is there another term for it that you don't have to have a quorum? Is there another term? Like group, I don't know what to call, you know what I'm trying to say? Is there another term that we could use for that?
Any group of people, 2 or more, any group of people that's going to look at, disseminate, analyze, and then bring forth to you any kind of information is a sunshine body. It needs a majority. It needs a quorum.
Okay.
What that number is can be different. As you've seen, you have some guys are 5, other things are 7, some are 9.
Right.
So the numbers can be different, but that's why you need to have that.
All right, thank you.
So back to that example you used with 2, could we change that to be seated members, but no more than 3?
I think if you want to try to keep it,
no less than 3.
Keep it 4, since a little piece of paper looks like it's supposed to be 4.
5.
5. Or keep whatever number you want. Maybe make alternates if you want by chance to have more people that are interested at some point. But I think if you want to change the numbers, I think it's important. You can do the quorum is the majority of seated members, but at least two or something like
2 or
that.
3 or
Yeah,
whatever.
whatever number you're comfortable with. So you don't have one person running a meeting.
Would you have to change the ordinance though?
Yeah, it'd be an ordinance to change it. You have to change the code. It's not a charter. It's a code.
It's a resolution ordinance.
Ordinance.
So it's 2 readings.
Yeah, it'd be 2 readings.
Committee, because it's a committee?
Because it's part of your code. And to change your code, you have to, changing the code requires ordinances. Resolutions are more like giving a policy or something that you want to do. It doesn't change your actual code. That's what an ordinance has to do.
Well, what if we should, again, maybe in the future we could have more on there, but with the addition of Cherokee, we would have 2. If we would change it to 3, the quorum would be 2. They both would have to be present for the meeting, and they could actually function. Maybe that's the way to approach it going forward, unless we leave it as, because we have to change the quorum requirements otherwise. But if we change the size of the committee, that fixes it well.
Or you just give people to fill the board?
Well, that would be the first order of business. But they couldn't even make a recommendation because they couldn't technically meet without a quorum. So I think we need to.
The board members are appointed by you. Right. They don't have to go. It doesn't have to go to the boss. If you on your own could find more people, you could have them appointed.
Can we just appoint them whether they like it or not? Joe?
You could try. Hold on, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. We're going to fill that committee up real quick, guys.
So I just have a question. So let's say that I'm appointed to the Historic Commission. Would Lori and I be able to, for instance, make posts on social media saying, hey, do you want to join the Historic Commission?
Currently, you can't meet and do anything.
That's the problem.
And that's the problem. But
Yes,
if you did it on your own and you wanted to advertise it, I mean, we can all do that on our own. But as a commission making an action, you can't officially do that.
I mean, from my perspective, without reading, really know the depth of what the purpose of that committee is, do we really need more than 3 people doing that anyway?
Well, no, probably not, because don't forget, you could also have citizens like that. You can have citizens just come to the meeting, they can attend the meeting,
Sure.
but they don't have to be on the committee.
Right.
So you can have a committee of 3, and then if 12 people show up, cool, that's great. More info is better.
And sometime in the future, if we got a bunch of people on it, we could expand it back to 5. But I think it'd probably be prudent to go ahead and, just given the history, that we amend it to be a committee of 3.
I mean, it's been inactive because we haven't had enough people,
Lack
so
of
make
people,
it so
yeah.
that it's
And, and that, with the addition of Cherokee, we'll have a quorum on it. So
Who's the third?
they don't need a third. The quorum is 2.
Oh,
Change 3, they automatically got a quorum. Then they just got to find somebody else.
No, perfect.
And the fact that we're coming up on this 100-year anniversary, this probably is
Good idea to have this group meeting.
a lot of
Good
interest
stuff, yeah.
and get some input.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve Cherokee. If anyone make
Motion to approve Cherokee Sampson for the historic committee.
I second.
a motion second. Now she can't vote, I guess, right? So you got to abstain from this Cherokee. So I got a motion second for discussion on that item. Anybody from the public like to speak?
I have something to say.
By all means.
It's not necessarily on this specific. Cynthia Malin, 5446 Blue Point Drive. On the CAC committee, we had a written application for joining Caroline Gonzalez. You were out on that meeting, and so it didn't get brought to the council. I want to make sure this does not get dropped again, because this is now March, and this is someone who's wanting to join our committee, and so we need to make sure to add her to vote tonight also, if we can.
Yeah. Let me finish up this, and I'll address that.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak on this item? Seeing no hands, I'll bring it back. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome to the committee, Cherokee.
And I took
Thank you.
I took that conversation to direct me to draft an ordinance to bring back to you, changing it to a 3-person board, your quorum being 2 people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Like consensus, I think it's.
Yep. All right.
And I guess we probably have that by next meeting to take care of that. Is that agrees.
I will do my very best to do
Yeah,
so.
we can go ahead
Yes.
and get them active. So going back to your question, do we want to, what's the procedure for potentially that CAC committee?
I believe adding that member to CAC is on their agenda because they didn't get to meet last month.
Oh, they didn't have a quorum.
That's right.
They didn't have a quorum, so
That's
that's
right.
on their
So we
agenda.
can't
So-
vote on it tonight. That's right. Thank you, Ashley.
Yes.
So we can't vote on it tonight
Well-
because we didn't have a quorum
But I
to.
thought we voted on it when we got the application. And so we did talk about it back in January. So therefore, we did approve it, but it didn't get brought to you, to the council. It apparently got dropped through the lines. So that's what I'm saying.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, because she had come back, she had interviewed once before.
Right.
Yeah.
And your notes recommended that, and it was never brought forward to council.
Yeah, because of.
I wasn't at that meeting, I guess. I was
You were
absent.
not at that meeting, and so
That's why.
that's what I'm saying. And so we thought we brought it up, and it just got dropped through the lines.
Yeah.
So it was back in January when we actually had the official application, written application for.
Right, and there was two individuals.
Right, and we had a
And-
full council.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that case,
Well, so obviously,
See, it's on the agenda. I don't know where the mix-up is, but the item is on the CAC agenda, consideration of new committee member, Caroline Gonzalez.
Probably because the last meeting, she did come to the meeting and discuss it. We didn't have a quorum.
Right.
So that's,
Yeah.
it all got messed up somehow.
And per the resolution, CAC needs to have their discussion and make an official
yeah, because I
recommendation.
say we changed it. I think now that's a part of the resolution, right?
Yeah.
It used to be we could just,
It was in my January notes,
Okay.
and I have them here. Need to see them.
All right, well, we'll straighten that out afterwards.
Oh, jeez. Sorry, guys.
No.
I gotta stop talking now.
Yep, you're done.
yeah, you're
You should
done.
do that to Dave.
you know, those notes aren't getting in our book. I'm wondering if those minutes
Are you
from
talking
those,
about the minutes?
her,
The CAC minutes he's talking about?
The minutes for the January CAC were included.
Yeah, we had,
wasn't on council then.
Yeah, we had-
That's
yeah.
why. Okay.
All right, so can I make an attempt in trying to straighten this out? Can we keep it on the agenda for next time and ask Ms. Gonzalez to come to the meeting as a audience member in the meantime until we get this approved by council?
As an applicant, I guess. Or,
Yeah, I mean, just come,
well, I mean,
it's not like we have a large audience.
no, well, so that next CAC meeting is coming up
Thursday.
soon, right?
Thursday.
Right, and our
Not tomorrow, not this Thursday, the Thursday after.
so we could approve it
What?
the very next council meeting on the second Tuesday.
it'll be Wednesday.
Hold, please.
The January CAC.
Oh, 'cause of election,
minutes
that's right.
Dictate adding Cherokee to the CAC, not Ms. Gonzalez.
Right, and then well, she got appointed right after that, so then she resigned. From
Yes.
that, so that never
So
happened.
then Ms. Gonzalez stepped forward, but she hasn't had a chance to have the CAC vote for her.
Well, she has, but there wasn't a quorum.
Correct,
Right,
correct,
right.
yes.
So that needs to happen at the next meeting
Okay.
and then have it come here.
I'll talk to you afterwards. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it up, though. Okay. Moving on to discussion of old business.
I got some items. We've got Miller's Bayou, the lot mowed, and the neighbor appreciates it. Appreciate that. And do we have an update on ownership of that lot?
We're still waiting for the final documentation from the county.
Okay.
We sent it out to them. They have to put it in front of their BOC, in front of the BOCC, and then get it back to us. But I haven't gotten an update on that yet.
Okay. And then also the waterfront park benches. I saw those. Those are nice. Thank you for doing that.
One, the most southern bench has been installed, and then we're going to do one more in the northern end of the trail. So
Right.
they got the southern one all done. They actually put a guardrail in today, and then they're going to start on the northern side of the trail later this week.
Is it the wood guardrail going across the bridge there?
No, it's actually a guardrail in front of the bench
Oh,
itself.
in front of the bench. I've got some guardrail issues. I'll get with Mr. Coppola, and I got some ideas on that. I'll run it by him. rather than using that lumber that deteriorates, the plastic dock lumber tends to last forever. Might be a better solution there. You don't get handrails and it doesn't splinter and come apart in your hands. So I'll get you some information on that. Though. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the utility department. They seem to be, I know it seems to take a long time to get stuff done, but they seem to be doing a good job in trying to be up on things. So I definitely want to compliment all of them for being very diligent in getting this stuff done. And I know it appears to be lengthy in time, but
Yeah, no, definitely doing good work.
And is there any update on where we're at with the golf cart crossing? There was 3 quotes and get that sorted out.
Yes. So actually, we've been meeting with each of the 3 firms because even after we had submitted some of the questions, I didn't feel that we were getting definitive answers back. So we've met with 2 of the 3. I think the 3rd is tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So we're aiming for the next meeting to bring it back to you and be able, to the best of our abilities, do kind of an apples to apples comparison rather than what you saw the last time.
Okay, good deal.
On the Boom on the Bayou event, we passed, it was a resolution we passed for the taking donations and stuff, right? So that's in place now. So have we reached out to the businesses to try to?
Not yet. We'll be putting that together and officially doing that in mass.
That's right around the corner, obviously. So the other old business item I wanted to bring up, so we had some time to talk about it. It's not on here, but it is old business. It's Limestone Pier. So I'll turn it over to you to start that conversation.
So at the goal setting, I know that there was some discussion about where we stood with that particular project and kind of how do we get to the demolition piece and then making decisions after that. So we did meet with the engineering firm Postal that's doing the work for the design. There's still 2 pieces of information we're waiting to get back before we do a real official, here's your option type thing. But what we talked to them about is that there's a desire to at least, at this point, end with demolition and not go forward with anything else. So they're going to provide to us what the cost is to finalize the project, to get it out to a bid for just the demolition. So that's the number that we still need to get from them. The second piece was we wanted to understand, because regardless of what we do, we have to get the permit we've already applied for. And the state is taking some time doing their 404 review. And as soon as we get that back, we'll have the permit and we can move forward. The question is, how long is that permit good for? Because if you decide that, okay, we want to just demo it today, but we may still want to build a pier there, getting that permit's important, but also understanding how long that permit's good for, because generally they're good for a 2 to 5 year period. I think 5 years most. That gives you, 5 years to figure out if you want to do a pier or not in that location. Not to have that permit and not to have that ability to do it with that time frame, you probably couldn't put a pier there after that expiration. So I think that you'd want to have that information to know, here's what your options are, here's what the cost of those options are. Hopefully we'll have that for you very shortly. And I didn't think it was going to take that long to get that information, but they take their time. But hopefully we'll have it before the next meeting. We'll have it as a discussion item.
Old business?
Well, I'm thinking if this is going to be a demolition of a 100-year-old pier, would there be any benefit to, and I'm just thinking outside the box here, that concrete comes out, cut it up into chunks and sell it as a historical, I don't know.
I don't know if the concrete is 100 years old. That pier has been redone. I don't know.
Yeah, it's underneath all the concrete, the actual posts that go, and that's why they couldn't decide.
Would have to look into that. I don't know.
Yeah, there's probably a hodgepodge of
That's the old
stuff.
US 19.
Yep. That's what I was wondering. And leveraging with what Pasco's planning there as well. Try to build something that's harmonious rather than isolate.
Do you have something, Cherokee?
Yeah, I do think it would be cool to just keep a piece of the wood, just like for historical purposes, to like display somewhere eventually in the future. Just a thought.
I don't think, Cherokee, I don't think that wood is the original wood from the original pier. That pier has been redone numerous times.
But to y'all's line of thought, I think there's something that's salvageable that is 100 years
if
old.
there is,
Yeah, if we can find
Not
something.
the actual pier.
Right.
No, not on the top. It'd be all under the surface.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea to at least look at once
Something
we
to think about, but it's another meeting.
go to open business. I'm looking for a motion.
What do we do with our next meeting?
Oh, is it, so it's the next one is on the election day, right? 9th? Is that the? So,
It moves.
so right, we moved to the Wednesday, the 10th.
Right.
It's, I mean, I'm tied up on Wednesdays, but I mean, I make it happen. Is there another option? Do we have anything that Thursday? Push it 2 days.
I could do the 11th. Essentially.
Just as a reminder as well, the 15th is swearing
Swearing, right?
for our charter. And you can choose whatever time you guys want for the 15th as well.
So could you do what day is that on? A Monday?
Monday.
So the swearing is by charter is the following Monday, which is the 15th. I would prefer the 11th for the rescheduling of the 9th council meeting, but if you guys need a 10th, I'll make that happen too. 11th would work better for me. Would work better for you?
It would.
Something different?
I think it'd be good for me. All right. I'll miss bowling.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I just like to pay anyway, so it doesn't matter, but that's fine. I would do the 10th if that's works better for you guys. I'm more than happy to work that out. So 10th.
Are we keeping it the 10th?
Can I get a motion for? Need a second? Motion second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.